Bob Fryer here in the AAPEX studios. Want to thank our sponsors, Repairify and Great Water 360 Auto Care. We got Robert Roos. He is the president and CEO of Pronto Network. Robert, good to have you here.
Thank you. Great to be here.
You know, I would imagine there is sort of an inherent danger in advocacy because you're advocating for one side, but theoretically you're alienating a whole other sector, correct? And if you've got a brand, that could be a problem.
Absolutely. You know, it's definitely there's a fine line that you have to walk there, but really that kind of comes with what we do in the program group business. You know, at the Pronto Network, we have multiple brands, we have a lot of our vendor partners, and you know, you have to walk a fine line to keep them happy. Advocacy is the same thing. You know, we're certainly very, very supportive of the right to repair, and so we want all of our members, all of our vendor partners, and all of our customers to understand the importance that it has for everyone. Yet we still have to walk a cautious fine line to make sure that we're not alienating some of them.
There is a line from the show Hamilton: if you stand for nothing, what'll you fall for?
Exactly.
Right? So at some point you do, though, whatever the cost, you've got to take that stand.
Absolutely. Okay. You know, especially on an issue as important as this, you can't afford not to take this stand. Mm-hmm. You just, again, you have to play it as close to the vest as you possibly can, but at the end of the day, you have to stand up and you have to advocate for an issue as important as this.
How do you play it close to the vest? How do you walk that fine
Well, I think
line?
what you have to do is you have to explain to everybody, again, whether it's a service dealer repairing cars, whether it's one of my WDs distributing parts, whether it's one of my supplier partners, just how this can affect them, you know, no matter what segment of the market that they're in. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, you know, an issue this important, an issue this vital to the long-term future of our industry has to be addressed and has to be talked about in all those segments.
You know, there's an old way of making a decision that you write out the pros and the cons of whatever it's going to be. Is that a method that you would say, look, we're definitely going to lose some of this here, but it's important enough that we go ahead and do this?
You certainly could. You could approach it that way. Again, we really kind of look at this as it's very, very heavily weighted on the pros. I mean, we know for our industry, we have to have this. We have to have the ability to have access to that data long term to be able to fix vehicles and keep cars and consumers on the road. And again, whether you're a distributor, whether you're a supplier partner, it is the right thing to do. And we encourage everyone to participate in that. And we find ways to make it specific to them. Yeah. We find ways to really dig into the points that will affect their business or their segment of the market and help them understand why it's so critical.
Do you find advocacy to be political?
Certainly it can be. You know, I think when you first think about it, when you first talk about it, the word advocacy itself is related to politics, and so everyone thinks, okay, is this a Democrat versus Republican?
Exactly. Yeah.
Is it a black versus white?
Right,
Is it a left versus right? Whatever it could be. But really it doesn't have to be political. You know, the Right to Repair Act is really a bipartisan bill that's being supported by both houses of Congress. We're talking to the Senates on both sides of the fence because this is an issue that's really, really important to everyone.
And we encourage advocacy.
Absolutely, yes. We fight for our members to understand. We work very, very hard to try to take this message down to the street level and throughout all of the different market segments, making this message available to as many people in as many different ways as possible.
And you mentioned the Repair Act. We are encouraging people, you know, make sure you come to Washington for the next legislative fly-in.
Absolutely.
Because we want you to go before.
Yes.
But you're not alienating this market, the people who work in the aftermarket industry.
Not at all.
No, okay.
Not at all.
Yeah.
We work very, very hard to make sure that everybody feels included and everyone can play a part in the fight for the right to repair.
Robert, good to see you, my friend.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's so much going on here at AAPEX 23. Make sure when you're out and about, you take some pictures, take some video, post them to whatever social media site you like to favor, but make sure you use that hashtag AAPEX 23. I'm Bob Fryer in the AAPEX studio.